something a little different. On this channel, I like to review watches I personally own, as well as do score-based analysis of watch types. Every time I do the score-based analyses, it influences the choices I make in my watch collecting hobby. A lot of times I like to pick up a watch to commemorate the occasion of finishing these big videos. But what I'm going to do today is go over the best of videos I did. I'm just going to mention what they are and say if I got a watch in response to that video, and tell you what I like about the watch, what I don't like about the watch, just the watches I picked up. And I've done a lot of these best of videos. There's a ton listed right here. I think this is comprehensive. We will see what the slides show us. All right, so the first video I did of this type, just looking at a broad category of watches, was field watch video. It aired in February 2024. And the approach I took with field watches is I thought they should be small. Historically, they were small. I wanted kind of a historical dial format, military Arabics, that sort of thing. Really robust is what I was looking for as well. So Bertucci did well. They make a really robust watch. And very minimal complications. Even the date I thought was not what a field watch should have. That's how I did it. And what I came away with after doing that series was the Bertucci A2 SEL. I was really pumped about the backlight, and it looks really cool. The dial has kind of a deep quality to it because it's got that backlight built in. It's a good looking watch. Here are the top 5 of the field watches. It actually was number 4 in my top 10 field watches. They look a little bit weird to me. I wouldn't do it the same now as I did back then. Victorinox probably would not win. It's too expensive for one thing, but that's how it turned out when I did the field watch video. I've changed a little bit how I do these types of videos. I wouldn't get the same top 10 today that I got back then, but Bertucci A2 SEL is a fantastic watch. What I like about the Bertucci is it's super legible. There's no complications on it. It has that backlight, which is nice. It has a recessed crystal, so the crystal's sunken in and it's protected by the case. It has crown guards, it has screw bars, the Zulu strap is really nice. It's a sweet watch, and of course I've reviewed it. It's a good one. What I don't like, I didn't know this till I picked the watch up, but the lugs are kind of uncomfortable. They dig into the hand a little bit. And then there was an issue with the backlight battery. It burned out really quickly, just in a matter of a few months. And I replaced one of the batteries inside the case, and that didn't fix it. You need to replace both batteries. I finally figured that out, and it's working fine now. Also, I didn't realize it didn't have a screw-down crown. Most Bertuccis have a screw-down crown, but this one does not. It's kind of unfortunate. This one also only has 100 meters water resistance compared to other watches Bertucci makes that have 200. Other watches I've considered since making that video are these 6 on the screen, the Merci LMM01. It's a hand-winding watch. It's discontinued, apparently. Well, I checked the website today, and it wasn't on there. But I just really liked how plain it was. Really cool. There's no lume on it or anything. I think it was kind of pricey. This one really appealed to me, the California Watch Lost Coast. And I've actually considered about getting these. In the 1.5 years since that project, I've considered picking these up. Haven't picked any of them up. I do want a hand-winding field watch, so I considered the SWC Trench, the Merci. I've also considered the Marathon GPM Officers. And then it'd be nice to have a more robust quartz field watch, so I was thinking about maybe the California one. It's something a little different. Looks really cool. The Vare is a solid field watch, 36 millimeter solar. I really like how that one looks. The limiting factor is always the price. These are a lot of money. Cincinnati I thought was better than the Hamilton Khaki. I got rid of my Hamilton Khaki field automatic. I'm not considering this anymore, but I have in the past considered picking up the Cincinnati. I like what they did here. Other traditional field watches I already had. I have the Timex Vietnam Camper. It's a 36 millimeter. It's one of the reasons I haven't picked up anything else is I love this Timex so much. It works great. I picked this up prior to doing the field watch video. Didn't score that great because it doesn't have great water resistance, but I really like it. And I own the Hamilton Khaki as well. And that's a theme throughout collecting is when you have certain watches, it kind of prevents you from getting other ones. And yeah, these two being in the collection, it prevented me from getting all that excited about other options. Like, how many do you need that are exactly the same? The SWC still really appeals to me. That's probably the one on the screen I'm most interested in picking up. It's just $595 is crazy. And it's titanium and stuff, like I get why it's expensive, but probably not gonna happen. When I do the upcoming traditional field watch overview, like the new one, I think I'll find some other cool options. I hope I do, for hand winding. The next video series I did, May of 2024, did a 6-video series of dive watches in different price ranges. In that series, I changed some things with the field watch. Obviously, the dive watches are bigger. I added thickness, which wasn't in that first video series, and from then on, thickness is always a concern that I consider. Lume was really important for dive watches. It is really important. I think dive watches usually have the most fun lume because they have the bezel and the dial, so you can get some really cool lume watches. But I was concerned about the utility of the bezel. What can you actually do? Like the Seiko here, you've got dots all the way around, you've got numbers. That's really excellent. Some other watches really have minimal bezels that aren't as useful. And water resistance obviously was a factor too. But the thickness kind of balanced it out. But what I came away with was the Raven Endeavor 2. This was kind of a hidden gem in the dive watch overview. It was very thin, it has a Miyota movement in it. It has 500 meters water resistance, it has the helium escape valve. It's a really impressive dive watch and nice wearing proportions too. Usually the really deep ratings come with a gigantic thick watch. In the top 10, that Raven actually scored number 8. And when you look at prices, this is a common theme too. When I do these overview videos, if there's one that's attainable, maybe I'll get it. This one was a bit of a stretch for me when I bought it. But yeah, obviously I can't afford Omega Ploprof 13,800. What I like about the Raven is it's a great size. 500 meters water resistance is great. The crown guard is good. The lume is really nice on this. The bezel is fully lumed. It has a really nice adjustable bracelet. It's a cool color. It's a micro brand. I love that the hands are black. The hands are sweet. There's so much to like about it. It's really neat. I love the logo. A lot of cool stuff with this watch. What I don't like about it, the bezel is not very fun to use because it's really stiff. I definitely prefer a stiff bezel over one that's going to move all around, but ideally it should just be the right amount of resistance, and this one is overly stiff. The knurling's not very easy to grab onto either. And the screw down crown is kind of weird. You screw it in and then you have to keep going and going and going, and it's like, when does this thing stop? So I don't care for that. Oh, I like the 6 o'clock date too. That's one of the things I liked about the watch. All right, other dive watches I've considered that aren't special colors, because I have a bunch of color series things. The H2O Tiburon is so cool. It's the most affordable of this type of watch with this little lug covered thing at the 6 o'clock. It's out of my price range. I probably will never get one. Same with the Squale here, 1200. I don't know when or how that would happen. It's probably not going to happen, but the Squale is so solid. Incredibly solid watch. Helm Kuraburi, that's more my price range right here, 310 bucks. Killer lume on this. They have orange lume. It's an amazing watch. I don't know how easy it is to pick up a Helm though. I think you have to order them specially and it takes forever to get it. But I'm considering that one. Samurai, also one of, I'm legitimately considering these three right here. Steel Dive. This is probably the best Ploprof homage because I really like the Omega Ploprof. This one has a functioning plongeur where the bezel doesn't turn at all. You can't turn it until you push the button. It is a lot of money though, and it's going to be so heavy. It'll be a brick on my wrist, but I think I would go for it with this one. It also has a fully loomed bezel. They do a good job at Steel Dive. I'm pleased with their offerings. Samurai too. I want to get a Seiko diver. Yeah, the Squale comes in a few different colors. I would probably go for the navy one here, or the full black. Maybe not the Azzurro blue. Doing these watch overviews really allows me to sift the wheat from the chaff and find out the really high performers. This is crazy. The Squale 1521 is so good. It's very thin, super deep depth rating. It's a solid watch, and I love the skin diver shape. So not on the screen, I might consider a 62 Mas homage as well, the skin diver case shape. Yeah, I already have a ton of dive watches. I've since gotten rid of the whale shark and the Corju, but I was trying to do a color series and get red, orange, yellow, green, blue. And yeah, I chose the Citizen for the blue, but then I sold it later. It has several shortcomings that I just was not happy with anymore. I just found I didn't care for the watch. I might get rid of the Aragon. I don't know if this kind of content appeals to anybody. I'll find out. That's why I'm posting it. But yeah, Spinnaker Hunley. I picked this one up as my first automatic watch. It's the first one I got from Watch Gang. And so for that reason, I'd probably hang on to it. It's got killer lume, and it's totally suitable. It was only 90 bucks, so there's not really a great reason to get rid of it, but it doesn't really get me excited because, yeah, it's just kind of a functional dive watch. It didn't get me too excited. Rectangula, Man, I really like that one. It's super cool. Tuna homage. The next best of video I did was the simple pilot watch. Part of the pilot series, I started with simple, meaning just three-handers. No chronographs, no dual time. And yeah, that was in August 2024. That video has remained super popular, as well as the field watch one originally. The field watch one is insanely well-performing of my videos. I still don't understand exactly why. The YouTube algorithm cannot be understood. In that simple pilot watch video, I prioritized the dial format, wanting to see numbers, the Arabics. The size was bigger on this one, diameter-wise. Because pilot watches were historically very huge. So a tiny pilot watch is not what you want. And by the same token, a really large field watch is not really what you want if you want to be more historical. And I was prioritizing thinness. And then it shouldn't have complications aside from a date. And I think I just excluded those from the video. They just didn't even show up. What I ended up with was the Dakla 44. It's a Type B Flieger watch. Even though it's only 44 millimeters, it wears super huge. And this watch, it wasn't in my top 10 whatsoever. And so that's the thing. When I do these videos, the top 10 is not always what I end up buying. Usually because they're too expensive, the ones that make it to the top 10. So the one I ended up buying, this was actually 8th place in the fine price tier, which was $550 to $1,350. The top 10 overall, these were the top 5. They're really cool watches, no question about it. I'd love to own any of them. But yeah, the Dakla didn't make it to the top 10. Like I said, the Dakla was number 8 here. I'm showing it here with the blue dial. It's number 8 in the fine category. So things I like about the Dakla, it's custom. So I got to put gold hands on it. And gold hands look so cool on a watch with a black dial. It's really nice. I went to CU Boulder and their colors are black and gold. So it reminds me of CU a little bit, but mainly it just looks really cool. The hand-winding Salida movement is very nice. This is a step up. This was a big step up for me, this watch. It is probably my nicest watch, objectively. It has really cool lume. That traditional format of the watch is really nice. It's that historical Flieger. And it's a really cool style. It's relatively thin. I really like its large size. And you can see on this wrist shot, it wears very big. 44 millimeters is definitely larger than an average watch size, but with this dial format, it feels humongous because there's a minimal bezel and it's just all dial, and it's this humongous dial on your wrist. So it kind of looks bigger than it is, but it's relatively thin. It's only 11.2 millimeters. That's really great. The strap is really nice. The crown is really nice. I chose diamond. You can also get an onion crown if you like, but I went with diamond. I like diamond better. The only thing I don't like about it is that the crown digs into the back of my hand because it's so large and that crown is sharp and large. It just comes with the territory. There's no way to avoid that. It's just, when I go to wear it, that's one of the things I think about. Okay, yeah, I'm going to feel that crown. Other watches I considered, the main one was this Attaché. Such a cool watch. I'm a fanatic with 24-hour movement watches, and this one, I just really wanted to get it. And I actually tried to buy it, but they didn't accept PayPal, and it was some Russian company. I didn't really want to give them my credit card number, so I didn't feel comfortable with this one. So I went with the Dakla instead. This is a lot cheaper than the Dakla was. I'm also considering an escapement time. I'd probably go with the Type A since I have the Type B Dakla. This is a little small though. I'd like to see a larger size here. I've also considered the Gavox Curtis. This is a really neat one. It actually has anti-magnetism. There's a Faraday cage for the movement. Neat company, and I like the design of this one. It's something a little different. And in my collection, I already had these ones. I had the Leico Aachen. And I did get rid of that Leico Aachen. The blue sunburst was just too weird. It didn't seem right. It's very pretty. It's very pretty. It was very hard to find a good strap with it. I eventually used shoe polish to turn this blue strap black. It comes on a NATO, which is really weird. I don't understand it. The watch is beautiful. It's amazing. It wasn't for me. 39 millimeters is too small. I just couldn't have that size. I really do think pilot watches should be big. I also have the San Martin. I really enjoy this one. It's huge. It's really cool. It's similar to the Dakla. So, I mean, I kind of have the simple pilot thing down. I've got a couple really cool ones that I really enjoy and make me think of old piloting back in the early ages of aviation. I'm kind of good there. And then this Epoch. I finally realized it's a pilot watch. I don't know what kind of watch they call it, and this price is crazy. If you want 63 tritium tubes, it's going to be expensive. This is probably as cheap as you can even find 63 tritium tubes. So for some reason when I bought it, that was just really important to me. I had to have a 63 tritium tube watch. So I picked it up. I have reviews for most of these watches. The next best of series I did was Traveler pilot watches. It was essentially just trying to look at all the dual time watches that exist, dual time or world time, and I looked at almost 500 of these. This was a crazy undertaking. It was very difficult. My priorities are the ability to show multiple times simultaneously. You look down and you see both times. So many travel watches don't do that. You have to go between screens, whatever. The other thing is the ease of use when traveling. If you're actually traveling with the thing, you want to be able to change the local time easily without messing up the away time. And that was something that's really hard to do with most of the watches. Most GMT watches don't have a jump hour, and setting it is extremely annoying. And I covered in the video how you can set it. You know, there's some shortcuts you can take to make it easier, but I have one of those office GMTs and I hate it. When I travel with it, it's like, what's the point? Why would I even try to use this thing? I also prioritize size because it shouldn't be gigantic on your wrist when you're traveling. And then fanciness, because these watches are kind of a flex. These are very expensive watches usually, these travel watches. What I ended up with was the Citizen Skyhawk. And it was actually the #1 travel pilot watch in my entire, almost 500 watches that I looked at. This is the one I determined to be the best one overall. So I pretty much just had to get it. That's how I felt. There's some other cool travel pilot watches. This one called to me the most. And obviously it's a price that I could afford. I didn't end up paying $525. I think I paid $3 something. What I like about the Citizen Skyhawk is all the functions it has. The dual time is great on it. It's solar, it has atomic timekeeping. It's a really cool case shape. The slide rule is really cool. I mean, I'm so happy to have a slide rule in the collection because I'm a numbers guy and it's just fun to play with the slide rule. It has good finishing on it, 200 meters water resistance. It's a fantastic watch. There's really no contesting that. It's a standout for sure. Things I don't care for with it, it's a little bit heavy. I wore it a couple days ago and I didn't even really notice it. So sometimes I feel like it's heavy, sometimes I don't. It's a small critique. The biggest issue with it is it's a tiny little screen and you can only show one thing. Like you can show date, you can show alternate time, like Paris or whatever. Oh, and it has all the different time zones. So you don't have to like calculate anything. You can just cycle through time zones. So very useful for a pilot. It always tells you UTC and it's atomic. So this is always correct. Anytime you look at this UTC, that's literally the UTC time. And then it shows you day, night. And I mean, it is so cool. But things I don't like is what I was on. Yeah, it's tough to choose what to put in the little screen. And then the slide rule inner track is very reflective, which makes it a little difficult to use the slide rule. Right here, you see, when the light catches it right, you can read it super easily, like in this shot up here at the top. But over here, you can't really see between 14 and 15. If there's something dark behind that it's reflecting, you're not going to be able to read this at all. And so it is kind of annoying to try to use the slide rule. The lighting has to be just right. If you're flying a plane or driving a car, it's very difficult to read what the slide rule says. Probably shouldn't try to read the slide rule while driving a car. But here's some other ones I considered. The Mondane Helvetica. When I looked at all these different types of dual time watches, these ones are great when you just have two clocks. I call this mini analog clock. It is so excellent. There's just two crowns, presumably just two movements in here. You just set 2 times. This one's really cool. I think it would make a great travel watch. Casio Royale is also really cool. I hate the plastic on my wrist, so SKX Mod offers bracelet options. And I think leather straps too. Thing that's held me back from that is the price. You have so many cool options. And there's too many cool options too. It's like, how do you choose the one you actually want? Glycine Air Pilot, this thing's been discontinued. And then I do at some point in my collecting future want to get an actual jump hour GMT movement. And so Notice Contrail, that's a contender, as well as the Islander Port Jefferson. They are kind of expensive. And I think both these have bidirectional bezels, which is what you want. And then for world timers, the cheapest world timer you can find is this Le Sablier. It might be even more than $755, but it's an actual world time watch. And it's like the cheapest one you'll ever find. So those are really sweet, for sure. The thing is, what's held me back from getting a GMT is I already have two 24-hour watches with 24-hour scale bezels. And it's kind of the same as a GMT. It's a little bit more complicated. You do have to remember something when you change time zones. Whereas GMT, you just adjust that jump hour and you're good. This one, you do have to keep some things in your head. But I actually don't travel all that much. So I've been totally satisfied with these for dual time. And then the Skyhawk too. So I already have some cool watches. And this Pagani design that I picked up for $46, the Office GMT, I'm glad I learned at a very low price that I cannot stand an Office GMT. I'm glad I didn't have to spend more money to figure out that Office GMTs are super annoying when you're actually traveling with a unidirectional bezel. So I definitely have regrets about this. There's no way I could sell it. You know, if I put it on eBay, it'd go for $10 or something. I suppose I could do that and have 10 more bucks in my pocket. I might actually do that. I just don't even wear it. Next best of series I did was the purple dive watches. Color series video number 1. This was in October of 2024. I just used the scores from the original dive watch series, and then I just looked for the best purples. Anyway, these were the top 5 in that purple dive watch series. Ones I've considered, the only real one I've considered is the Zelos. I just have my heart set on that Zelos. Unfortunately, it's unavailable. I don't know if they'll ever make another purple. And yeah, there's... What was that other one they made? Zelos came out with the purple one somewhat recently. It's not the same to me. I want the Swordfish. The Swordfish design itself is so good. I really would like to have a Zelos Swordfish at some point in my future. And the question is just the color. I'd love to get a purple one. I hope they remake the purple. If they do, I will definitely get it. But I've considered the Aragon Armour. It's okay. It's just kind of... The electric purple is really not for me. I want something a little bit more plum. Not this bright purple. Deep blue, again, this one's discontinued. That would have been perfect. The Deep Blue Master 1000, that's a great option. But it's not an option because they discontinued it. But so this one's in limbo. I really enjoy purple, and I had a purple watch, and I loved the fact that it was purple, but I really disliked other things about it. The next best of series I did was the gold dial dive watches, also in October. Here were the top 5 from that video. Some cool looking watches, all very expensive. So not for me. I don't plan on getting a gold dial dive watch. Next one was the top 10 lime green dive watches. Here were the top 5. Marinez in first place. And that Marinez is the only lime green watch I would consider getting. The limiting factor is the price. It's way too much money. Don't understand why the Hong Kong watch is $529. It seems at least double what it should be. This should be like $200, $300. And it is titanium, the bracelet's titanium, but even so, this is crazy inflated. Doxa does not make a lime green, so it's really cool to see the lime green. I love this thing. The color is like Doxa would do, but Doxa's never done it. Very cool, but it's just too much money. The next best of video I did was tan. There's a lot of these color ones. These were the top 5 tan. And I'm not considering getting any tan watches. The next serious best of video I did was the Pilot Chronograph one. And this was a huge undertaking. December 29th, ton of work went into this. Essentially, yeah, it's the chronographs. It started out as technical pilot watch, so there's other technical things in here. It's not all chronographs. But my priorities were the readability of the chronograph. You know, traditional chronographs are not that easy to read. Digitals have much superior readability. The utility of the watch, all the things it does. And then thickness. The average Pilot chronograph is way thicker than the average dive watch. Even the quartz ones, they're just thicker watches. The one I ended up with was the Casio ProTrek PRW35Y. And no, it's not exactly a pilot watch. It has the altimeter. And I had this idea that altimeter could be used by a pilot. The altimeter's not going to do you any good in a commercial aircraft where the cabin is pressurized. So, but I still think it's cool for amateur pilots to have that. The altimeter could be really cool. The PRW35Y was the first place. It was easily the best chronograph. And so, yeah, that's one reason I picked it up. And the Skyhawk was number 2. and I already have the Skyhawk. So I feel great about my Pilot watches. I feel like I've got some really excellent Pilot watches. This Zen 903 is super cool. Very expensive though. What I like about the Casio, it's great size, it's really lightweight, it's super readable. All the features it has sunrise, altimeter, barometer, compass, temperature. It is so cool. Ease of use, atomic timekeeping. The dual time is really nice on it. It's probably my favorite watch is the Casio ProTrack PRW35Y. Only downsides that I can find are the 23mm lug width, and then the menu layout could be improved. It's not ideal. Others I've considered, I haven't really considered. I don't think I need any other chronographs. I'm pretty satisfied with the number of chronographs I already have. But yeah, Zen 903, oh man, that would be super cool. Internal rotating slide rule bezel. It has much greater water resistance than the Breitling Navitimer. But even a used one is going to be almost $3,000. Crazy. It's just never going to happen. I suppose if I was in the market for a watch like that, this would definitely be the one I'd get. One of the reasons I haven't considered cheaper options is I already have the Hemel airfoil. It's an ST19 mechanical chronograph. Kind of satisfies my interest in a mechanical chronograph. I have one. Well, I actually have another mechanical chronograph that's a racing watch. It's based on the Valjoux 7750. I know what they are. I know how cool they are. They're not all that cool, but I'm glad I have them both in the collection. The Aviate Hawker Hunter, yeah, I got rid of this one, sold it. I think I got like 2/3 what I paid for it, which I think when you're selling watches, if you can get 2/3, that's pretty good. And yeah, it didn't do it for me. And that was with an issue that it has, which is that the elapsed minutes marker has migrated. And I disclosed that in the title of the listing. I made it very clear there's an issue with this watch, but people still bid what I think is a lot of money for this Aviate. It looks really cool, but I'm a function before form guy. It has to function. It has to do what it's supposed to do. And this thing, yeah, I don't need to talk about it all day. The next best of one I did was pink dive watches. Did this in January this year. And here were the top 5 pink ones. I think these are good options for pink dive watches if you want such a thing. I do not want a pink dive watch because I have one pink watch, and that's enough pink watches for me. That's plenty. And I really enjoy this Blagger. It's not a dive watch, but it's pink. So I have pink covered. I'm happy with that. I do wear this watch pretty often. It actually has on-the-fly adjustment that is really good. You know, all these different positions. Glide lock-esque. For $72. The next best of video I did was small dive watches. So one's under 40mm. This one has actually performed really well too. That was in February this year. These were the top 5. Very cool watches in here. The only dive watch I would consider is the Seiko SNE 575. Only 38mm. Yeah, and it's only 10.6 thick. That's the thing with this one. Probably the most wearable dive watch you can find. And it's PADI certified. It's an excellent watch for sure. Again, it's a little steep. Seiko's that place where they cost more than I think they should by like $100. If I get a small dive watch, it would be this one. Okay, bronze dive watches. This is the next best of video I did, March. My priorities with this, all these dive watch spin-offs pretty much have the same priorities. This one I did have to tweak the system a little bit to reward the vibe. And then leather straps were penalized on the original system because everyone always says leather's not good for diving. Well, with the bronze dive watch, it's what looks the best. The leather looks the best. Leather was the way to go with bronze. What I bought was the Steel Dive SD 1956 PS. This one you see on the screen. It was not in the top 10. Here are the top 5 bronze watches. The Panerai Submersible PAM 507 was the best bronze dive watch. I think it's the absolute best. And yeah, I wanted a homage of that, so that's what I went with. I excluded the Steel Dive from the final runoff entirely because it's so similar to the PAM 507 or the 382, the one without the power reserve. It just doesn't make sense to have watches that are identical in these final runoffs. They end up kind of near the same spot, typically. Panerai is the one that deserved that, not the knockoff. What I really like about this watch is the presence of it. It has so much darn presence. The style, the funkiness. It's just a really cool looking watch, and I always get compliments on this one. It looks really darn cool. What I didn't like about it, stock out of the box, is it had really poor lume on the hands. Like the worst lume you've ever thought about. The lume on the hands was so bad, it would last like 20 minutes, maybe, if that. I didn't like that the strap didn't match. Yeah, the strap is kind of this gingerbread color. It's okay, but I wanted the kind of Panerai style. So I swapped out the strap. I got a darker brown leather. The date window on that one, it's white. I didn't like that. So I swapped all that stuff out. Oh, probably the biggest thing I like about the watch is the cool crown cover. That's the same as the Panerai. It's got this lever that comes out. It is so cool. And they did that because people were messing up their dive watches with the screw down crown. They're manual winding dive watches. They were breaking the crowns. And so Panerai invented this lever to lock down the crown. And then you don't need the screw down. It's like you have all your water resistance just fine with the lever thing. That's why it was invented. I think that's really cool. It looks really cool. That was the main selling point of this over other similar watches. Yeah, I swapped out the date wheel and got a loomed date with the color match. Very pleased with the mod that I did there. The other one I was considering possibly was the San Martin, but again, it doesn't have the crown cover. So it's kind of a submersible without the crown cover. I wanted the crown cover. I wanted these little nubs on the bezel and just all that stuff. Only a few more. The next best of video I did was GADA watches. Go anywhere, do anything. That was in June. And the priorities were bracelet. Bracelet was a huge priority for sure. But the main thing about GADA is maximum versatility. You can wear it to the wedding. You can wear it working in the yard. You can wear it going on hikes. Everywhere in between. It's like it works in all scenarios. That's the point of the go anywhere, do anything. Bracelet kind of works everywhere. On a hike, yeah, maybe you want to swap it out. But more often people are going to be doing stuff around town, going to the office and stuff. So the bracelet is ideal. If you have a nice bracelet, you can swap. But if it doesn't come with a nice bracelet, then you don't even have that choice. But yeah, they should be rugged and sophisticated. And some watches actually are. Rolex is an example. What I went with is the one on my wrist here, the Traska Summiteer, 38 millimeter. And it was actually 5th place in the top 10 of all price ranges, just best GADA watches. Traska Summiteer was 5th place among these other heavy hitters. Rolex Explorer being the best GADA watch in my opinion. What I love about this Traska is the versatility of it. You can wear it anywhere. I've worn it hiking. It looks perfectly suitable for that. The size is excellent, 10.5 millimeters. It's a no-date movement. It doesn't even have the possibility of a date. It's a Miyota. Finishing is impeccable on this thing. The bezel finishing is so cool. It's got kind of a sunburst deal. I've never seen another watch have that. And then they have the polished. The case is really in excellent shape. Kind of slender lugs. The box sapphire. You know, the clasp on this is so darn good. I was struggling over the words earlier, but you know, you have all these different positions within the clasp, so you can easily and quickly make it looser if you want to, or make it tighter. I think it's a really sophisticated design. It has that Explorer DNA, but it's more fresh. The only thing I don't like about the watch is the spinny rotor with the Miyota movement, but that's really a small concern. There's only like a couple times of the day I'll hear, or I'll feel it on my wrist, like just spinning crazily inside there. Small concern, especially at this price point. You know, when you go up in price, you start getting ETA movements, Solita movements, you're not gonna have the spinny rotor, but they cost way more, hundreds of dollars more. Other watches I've considered, other GADA watches, the Hanhart Pioneer Preventer, that is really, really cool watch. The blue is beautiful, the black is really nice too. Far superior to Hamilton Khaki. Yeah, Hamilton Khaki can't hold a candle to this thing. It has case hardening and everything. I've also considered this HZ watch. Very cool watch. The black is sold out, and it has been for like a year, so I don't know if they're going to make any more black ones. That'd be the color I'd want, is the black. The red one's actually pretty cool, though. It's got a little red ring here. Not too crazy expensive. They don't come on a mesh bracelet, but you can get titanium mesh bracelets aftermarket. So that's what I would do. I'm pretty set on GADA watches. I have other ones as well. The Parnas, oh man. It is the most versatile watch in my entire collection. I can wear it to anything. I can wear it casually, I can wear it formally. Only $100. That was a great choice, and I really enjoy this one. It's a Rolex homage, a blatant Rolex homage. Yes, it is, but I'm not the kind of guy who can afford a Rolex. Cadison, I got the blue one. I liked it so much. I also got the gold one. I did eventually sell this Oyster Perpetual homage, the Tiffany blue. All right, very recent history. The next best of video was the Tactical Field Watches video series. It was military. I won't rehash it, but priorities for this was utility overall. Like, it's supposed to be like a field watch with a ton of extra features to it, ruggedness and readability, similar to field watch, but just with like chronographs and stuff. What I ended up picking up after this was the Garmin Instinct 3 Solar Tactical. I've been so pleased with this watch. It's been so much fun. In my top 10, it was number 4. And I already have the PRW 35Y. But yeah, these other ones. When I do these videos, I don't bias the watches. You know, I didn't bias the Casio. I wasn't trying to make the Casio win. It's just so good, it's up there. What I like about the Garmin is it's really lightweight. It has like a 28-day battery life with the settings I put on it. It charges in the sun. It has a flashlight on it. The flashlight is incredibly useful. It does the sleep stuff. It does all these cool smartwatch things. It shows me the temperature outside. It tells me my heart rate, weather, all these things. It's really an amazing watch. It has trackback, the GPS. When you're in a GPS mode, you can just choose to go back the exact way you came, and the watch will guide you how to go back. I haven't used that yet, but I plan to soon just to test it out. The dual time is really excellent on it. Just similar to like the Citizen Skyhawk, you just have all the zones in there and you can just go through them. It's a lot more readable on the Garmin though. You've got that full screen. It's really easy to see that dual time. The only thing I don't like about the Garmin is there is a lot to it. There's a lot of menus. There's a lot of things on there that I don't need, that I'm not interested in. And so yeah, there's menus to go through, confusing menus. And I haven't considered any other tactical watches because I already have the PRW 35Y. The Casio fishing timer is legendary. It's only $22. It is super cool. I highly recommend this watch. Very low price of entry. Although the strap, the stock strap, is completely unwearable. That thing has to go. I could not stand that. I didn't like this watch for the longest time until finally I changed out the strap, and I really enjoy this watch now. Oh, this picture, you can't see the fish. Well, this wasn't a good time to fish, but it tells you good times to fish by indicating the number of fish on this radar thing. And the World Watch, yes, World Watch, that'll be the next watch I review. Same price as that Garmin, but it's kind of obsolete when you have a Garmin. The only thing the Yes World Watch does is have a really cool display and just show you sunrise, sunset, just conceptualize the time in a 24-hour period all at once. That is one thing no other watch can do. There's a lot of annoyances with the Yes World Watch, which I'll cover when I review it. But yeah, since I already have all these ones, don't need other tactical field watches. The most recent best of video, the military watches, it's the last one. Prioritized conservative looks because it's military. Took out the GPS and the Bluetooth and the atomic, but otherwise similar to that tactical thing. And I did not buy anything from the military watch overview. Here were the top 5 military watches. And there's a few that I'm considering. One is that ProTech USMC 1016. Yeah, I mean, it's in the top 5. It's a very cool choice. Marathon Navigator, seriously considering that one. It is very expensive. $800 new on eBay. Yeah, the Marathon Navigator is so cool. I really like dual time watches, and this has a really good setup here. I really like Marathon. Luminox Mil-Spec, just a really great dive watch. I might even just consider it a dive watch, not really like a tactical. And then ones that I've had in the past was the DW5600. And yeah, I did not like this watch. I sold it. I didn't enjoy it on the plastic. I didn't enjoy it on this bracelet, aftermarket bracelet I bought. It's just not for me. All right, and possible future best ofs. These are some other videos I'm thinking of doing. Well, the hiking top 10, this first one, that'll come out in a couple weeks. That'll be pretty easy to put together. It's just using the scores from the tactical series, the military series. But the next major one I want to do, a full-on series, is the traditional field watches. You know, they're in the spreadsheet. It's a lot of work to do the whole series and stuff, but that's in progress. I still need to dial everything in and all that stuff, but that'll come out for sure. But some other ones that people have suggested that I could do is the dress watches, racing watches, pulsometers. There's not going to be many of those. And even jump hour watches. I don't know. Yeah, those are ideas I'm kicking around. Something else I might do is look at different colors of dive watches still. I covered a lot of the colors. I covered the ones that have around 30 watches, you know, pink and more obscure watches. But I could do brown. There's a larger number of those. Could do red, yellow, turquoise, orange. kind of identify the best ones. Blue, there's just way too many. There's no way I could do a blue dive watch one. It's basically the same as just the dive watch series. If you want a blue dive watch, the dive watch series will show you which ones those are. But yeah, I might focus on these. It's possible. Those are the ideas. I just thought I would throw that in there at the end. Hopefully that was interesting to somebody. The watches I picked up after I did best of videos. In closing, there's a few things that I learned from this exercise. A few lessons learned. Firstly, watches always have quirks that you won't know about until you buy them. And so you can't just look at specs on a page. For example, the Skyhawk, really reflective inner bezel. The Bertucci lugs were an issue. Some watches are super reflective. You don't even realize that until you get the watch. Because when you take pictures, you can put a dark background above it and eliminate the reflection. But you don't have a dark background floating over your watch all throughout the world. Crowns can be uncomfortable and you don't realize till you get the watch. So yeah, my advice, which I've personally never followed, is to handle the watch before you buy it, if you possibly can. The other thing you can do is just watch a bunch of reviews of people that actually have the watch. Don't just watch reviews where they say how great it is because it's sponsored or something. You need to find some reviews where they just lay on the line things they don't like about it. A thing I thought of, which I've never tried, is you could ask people on Watch Crunch that have it, is there anything they dislike about the watch? What are the watch's shortcomings? Something else I've learned is that more expensive is not always better. I really enjoy that Casio fishing timer that was $22. Some of my favorite watches are really inexpensive. The Parnas. I really enjoy that watch. This Traska, gosh, maybe 5 times more expensive. Is it 5 times better than the Parnas? No, it's not. There's definitely diminishing returns. A major theme of my collecting journey is that when you purchase certain watches, it can really rope you in on what you can get next. Like, I'm trying to do a rainbow collection. Well, I bought the blue watch. I've got a red, an orange, and a yellow, and a blue. It influences what type of green watch I'm even interested in because I want them to make sense as a group. So that's one of the challenges. It's a good idea to try to plan ahead. I think planning is really important with any collection. It's important to think about what the final picture is going to look like. And yes, there's going to be things that change. Something's going to be discontinued. Some new thing's going to come out which you like better. But it's good to have a plan. Final piece of wisdom, I guess, from collecting is that my tastes have changed over time. Everyone's tastes change over time. Many of the watches I was really excited about at the beginning of my collection journey just don't even interest me anymore. That's one reason why I don't think it's a great idea to buy watches that are too expensive. My personal budget, when I'm really on the top end of it, it puts a lot of pressure because the watch really has to hold up to that. It's like if you spend an unusually high amount on a particular watch, if it's just kind of the same as the other watches, I feel let down. Like, shouldn't it be better? I paid so much more for it. So expensive is not always better. But yeah, I guess my point was tastes change over time. So try to get something timeless, I guess. Guess that's the wisdom there. That's all I had talking about watches I bought and collection musings. As with all these videos, I like to talk about the Bible at the end. So that's what I'm going to do now. Bible time. Welcome to Bible time. I'm not a pastor or biblical scholar. I just like sharing the Bible. So don't think I have any authority whatsoever. I'm just a Christian. But today I'm continuing the series on the Hebrews 11 Hall of Faith. And today it's Jacob. We covered Abel, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac. Number 7 today is Jacob. The passage is found in Hebrews 11:21. And Jacob's life is super interesting. I really like the passage where he wrestles with God. He gets renamed Israel. And that's in Genesis 32. I'm not going to be able to cover that today. Just have to stick with the Hebrews 11 passage because there is so much just with that. So that's what we'll do. The passage is found in Hebrews 11:21. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons and worshipped as he leaned on the top of his staff. Okay, he's blessing his grandsons because Joseph is his son, and he's worshiping as he leans on top of his staff. This passage refers to when he blessed his grandsons by Joseph, but Jacob did later bless all of his 12 sons. I think what Hebrews is highlighting here is that the blessing that Jacob gave to his son Joseph and his grandsons Ephraim and Manasseh were greater. Those blessings were greater than for his 11 other original sons. Wanted to find out why is that? Why is that blessing greater? So, need to explain why Joseph was his favorite son. But to do that, I have to explain Joseph's 4 wives. And so we've got some slides here. The story is told in the Bible is that Jacob loved Rachel, and she was the second daughter of Laban. And he agreed to work for Laban for 7 years so that he could marry Rachel. When he went to marry Rachel, there was a swaparoo, a switch, and he, whoopsie-daisy, married Leah. And Leah was not his choice. It said that she had weak eyes. And so, yeah, Jacob was not into Leah. But, that's his wife now. So, but he still wanted to marry Rachel. And Laban said, okay, well, you can have Rachel too. You can have her as a second wife, if you work for me for another 7 years. So he did it because he loved Rachel so much. But he had 4 sons by Leah and none by Rachel at the beginning here. And so Rachel got very jealous. I mean, Leah is jealous of Jacob's affection for Rachel. Rachel's jealous of Leah for all these sons that she had. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. And Judah's blue here because Judah's the ancestor of King David and also the ancestor of Jesus. I just wanted to highlight that. But Rachel was jealous of Leah, so she had this great idea. Hey, Jacob, do you want a 3rd wife? Why don't you take on my handmaid Bilhah? And so he did that and had 2 sons by Bilhah. And that sort of appeased Rachel because now, they're sort of her sons, kind of. And then Leah got jealous of that and so gave Jacob a 4th wife, Zilpah, the handmaid Zilpah. And he had Gad and Asher by her. So he's got 4 wives. This man has 4 wives. It's super weird. That's just what the Bible records. Leah even has 2 more sons. She has 6 by her. Eventually, Rachel is able to have a son by Jacob. His name is Joseph, and that means Jehovah has added. So Rachel credited that gift as being from the Lord, which he was. And Jacob also really loved Joseph. Joseph's in yellow here because he's Jacob's favorite. And then Rachel had 1 more son, Benjamin, and she died in childbirth. And there was at least 1 named daughter in all of this as well. But those are the 12 sons of Jacob, right here. So Joseph was Father Jacob's favorite due to who his mother was, Rachel. Hence the coat of many colors that he received. And then Joseph got betrayed by his brothers. But Joseph is also Jacob's favorite because Joseph really earned his father Jacob's favor by saving the family when he became the governor of Egypt. And yes, Joseph's story is incredibly interesting, but I'm not going to cover it right now. I think Joseph's the next one in the Hall of Faith, so maybe it gets covered then. We'll see. Here's where it says he was governor of Egypt. Genesis 45, verse 26. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart stood still because he did not believe them. He really thought Joseph was killed. Well, that's what his sons told him. So yeah, really interesting story. And there's a ton to learn from Joseph's story as well. To further explain the Hebrews passage and why Jacob blessed those grandsons, Reuben's birthright was essentially transferred to Joseph as a double portion. Back in Genesis 35:22, Reuben got with one of his dad's wives, the handmaid Bilhah. And that's in Genesis, 35:22. And that lost him his firstborn birthright. In fact, when Jacob later does, I explained, he blesses all of his sons. His blessing to Reuben is really more of a curse. And that's found in Genesis 49:4. Turbulent as the waters, you will no longer excel. For you went up to your father's bed, onto my couch, and defiled it. That's his blessing. And Joseph's going to get that double portion. Earlier in Genesis 48:5, Jacob told his son Joseph that the grandsons, Ephraim and Manasseh, were his. He said, they're mine, basically. Let me read the passage. Now then, your 2 sons born to you in Egypt before I came to you here will be reckoned as mine. Ephraim and Manasseh will be mine, just as Reuben and Simeon are mine. This is where he explains that, in the inheritance, essentially, popped in Ephraim and Manasseh. So Joseph kind of gets that double portion. And the commentator Gil said that this meant that they were, by adoption, considered as Jacob's sons. There's grandsons, but he's considering them as his sons. Gil also says, so Jacob blessed Joseph's sons more. The blessing is actually even better for those 2 sons than for his direct sons. The Hebrews 11 passage says that this act by Jacob to change up who he's blessing is by faith. Jacob did it by faith. Here it is. Here's Jacob's special blessing to Joseph's sons, and this happens before he blesses his original 12 sons. This is in Genesis 48, verses 14 through 16. Then Israel, Jacob is also Israel, then Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, guiding his hands knowingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. So he's also switching up who is the greater between those two sons, but it's kind of a side trail, so I won't continue on it further. And he blessed Joseph and said, God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has fed me all my life long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads. Let my name be upon them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. So that covenant God made with Abraham for his descendants to be as the sand of the sea, Jacob is continuing that covenant through these two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Hebrews 11 says, by faith he did this. He was worshiping while he was doing it. There is a ton of interesting information about the 12 tribes. This is definitely a side trail. A couple of months ago, I was reading Revelation 7, and I saw that Dan was not listed in the 12 tribes of Israel. So I tried to figure out what happened there. So I've got some slides here. All right, so on the left here are the 12 sons from the earlier slide, and then the two grandsons are shown in pink. And then in the Revelation 7 passage, Dan does not carry over, but Manasseh does, and he's that grandson. There's other places in the Bible where the tribe of Dan does bad things, and the tribe of Ephraim does bad things as well. So the primary theory, as I understand, for why they're not in Revelation 7 is because those tribes did bad stuff. Specifically, Dan was a snake. He was called a snake. Jacob explained it himself in that blessing, the blessing to Dan, and I'll read that. It's Genesis 49:17. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels so that its rider shall fall backward. That's his blessing to Dan. So apparently blessings can be kind of negative, so that's what that was. And his prophecy, if you want to call it that, came to pass. That tribe's idolatry is called out in Judges 18:30, Amos 8:14, 1 Kings 12:29. Dan was specifically idolatrous. The tribe of Ephraim is also called out repeatedly in Hosea for idolatry. A ton of passages here. 4:17, 6:10, 7:11, 9:11, 11:12, 12:1, 13:1. Yeah, all throughout Hosea, Ephraim is being called out for idolatry. So that's the primary theory for why the tribes of Dan and Ephraim are excluded from Revelation 7. All right, side trail over. We'll get back to Hebrews 11. So yeah, Jacob did bless each of his sons, and that was, I already mentioned the Dan blessing and the Reuben blessing, which were not really blessings. They're kind of weird. Some of them are not really always positive. A couple of highlights: he calls Benjamin a hungry wolf, he calls Issachar a raw-boned donkey, he calls Naphtali a doe set free. And like I said, he called Dan a viper, which Dan did turn out to be a viper. So they're as much prophecies as they are blessings. Those are interesting. And those are in Genesis 49. But going back to Hebrews 11, the Bible says that Jacob blessing Ephraim and Manasseh was by faith. And based on what we've discussed here, he gave Joseph a double portion because he considered Joseph above. He even called him a prince among his brothers. Genesis 49, verse 26. This is when he's blessing Joseph. Your father's blessings are greater than the blessings of the ancient mountains, than the bounty of the age-old hills. Let all these rest on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the prince among his brothers. Yeah, he gets the big blessing. This is the big blessing. It was interesting to see why Jacob blessed Joseph doubly, and specifically blessed those two grandsons. Now I know, I always had questions, about the swapping of the tribes and stuff, and here it is, laid it out today. And it's also interesting how Hebrews 11 commended both Isaac, covered that last video, and Jacob today. It commended them for the blessings that they gave to their descendants. And both of those blessings were prophetic. It said, Esau is going to serve Jacob. And then here, Joseph is elevated above. And there's so many prophecies about what the different tribes, what it would look like in the future. Okay, so the question arises, all of this information, is there any practical application for us? Yes, there are a few practical applications. So keeping in mind that the context of the Hall of Faith is that these were people who had tremendous trust in the Lord's promises. And so the Bible is recognizing them for their trust in the Lord. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Number one, we too should trust in God's promises for us. Particularly as New Testament believers, we have the new covenant of Jesus. So we can and should trust that God has prepared a dwelling place for us in eternity. A house not built with human hands. We can live with him forever. There's no more sorrow, no more pain, no more suffering. So that's number one. Number two, we should pass on our spiritual legacy to our children. These stories from the Old Testament are a great model of how we can disciple our children. We can impart upon them the need for faith, to live by biblical principles, and to bless others with our works and our deeds. And then third, Hebrews 11:21 mentioned that Jacob was worshiping as he blessed Ephraim and Manasseh, his grandsons. So in times of great importance, which this was greatly important to Jacob to get this right, we too can call on the Lord to give us the words he would have us to speak, just as Jacob did. We can do that through worship of him. So those are my 3 points. I got 3 points in. Much more could be said about all this stuff. You could teach an entire college semester class on the tribes of Israel. But that's all I've got on this information today. If you want more biblical analysis, I've linked 4 pastors in the description. Check them out. They're all awesome. Now for prayer. Lord, thank you for all the history that's recorded in the Bible that we can study and learn about. Please help me to practically apply these biblical principles in my life and to study the Bible in its context and to use good principles of Bible study when trying to learn from the Bible. Lord, please help all of us to do that. I thank you for these great people of faith that you've mentioned in the Hall of Faith, and I pray you would give us all the faith to do your will and to follow your leadership in our lives. Please bless us and keep us safe. Please help us to resist temptation. Please forgive our sins and help us to forgive the sins of others. Pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace always and in every way. The Lord be with you all. See you next time.